Venom thought he was Earth's protector, until something darker crashed through Saturn's rings. His brother, a symbiote born of silence and rage, arrived with one purpose: execution. Not conquest, not chaos, just one clean death. Because Venom broke their ancient code and bonded with a human. Now Eddie Brock is the galaxy's most wanted traitor. Iron Man calls for backup. The Guardians retreat. And Venom prepares to kill what he once called family. Venom was never supposed to stay on Earth. He was supposed to feed, destroy, and leave. But Eddie Brock changed that, gave him purpose, balance, even loyalty. And that was the unforgivable sin. On a quiet October morning, a red tear opened in the sky above Tokyo. The news called it a meteor. S.H.I.E.L.D. called it an extinction-level event. Thor arrived first, hammer high, eyes glowing, but he didn't strike. He froze. What emerged was not a meteor. It was a cocoon, thick, obsidian, dripping with black static. The ground beneath it steamed like dry ice meeting water. Then it moved. A limb pushed out. Not a human arm. Not alien either. Something in between. It was a symbiote, but not like Venom. This one had no host, no body. It walked on carbon smoke, took shape through gravity distortions, and fed on sound waves and memory. It called itself Vorak. And its first words were not to the world. They were to Eddie Brock. You bonded with the humans. You made them your anchor. You shamed our blood. Venom stirred inside Eddie's mind, growling louder than ever before. No, that voice. I buried it. I fell to die. Vorak was not just a brother in blood. He was the first. The Alpha Code. The primal strain that birthed all other symbiotes, including Venom. And he had only one directive written in his DNA. Cleanse the code. Kill the traitor. Burn the bond. Within minutes, Vorak melted into Tokyo's data streams. People vanished without screams. Streets turned to slick black glass. And every screen on the planet flickered the same message. Deliver Venom, or Earth ends. Tony Stark initiated Omega Protocol. Thor was benched. Whatever Vorak was, he'd rattled even a god. Strange couldn't detect him through any realm. Not even Asgard's Rainbow Bridge would open near his energy signature. Eddie ran. He and Venom fled deep into the Amazon, hiding in the shadows of creatures older than the moon. But they weren't alone. Hulk found them first. He said you broke the galaxy, that you loved Earth too much to leave it. So what? Eddie spat, eyes wide with panic. We did. That's why we saved it. Over and over. Hulk didn't blink. And that's why Vorak's coming. Because love made you weak. The jungle melted behind them like paper. Vorak didn't move through trees. He devoured them. He didn't fly. He appeared. He was the absence of existence, not a being. And now, he wanted his brother's heart. The battle that followed ripped oxygen from the air. Venom launched first, doubling in size, fangs wide and claws sizzling with kinetic energy. But Vorak didn't dodge. He split, literally fracturing his body into living fragments. Each fragment whispered in a forgotten tongue. Each fragment stabbed Eddie's mind with pain. We are memory. You are infection. Eddie screamed. He saw flashes, Vorak's world, a living library of symbiotes. None of them had names. None of them had feelings. They moved, consumed, evolved, but never loved. Never bonded like Venom did with him. And that was why Venom was considered a virus. He hadn't just betrayed the symbiotes. He'd changed them. Back on Earth, Tony Stark and Shuri built a counter-frequency cannon, tuned to symbiote biosignatures. But they couldn't lock onto Vorak. He existed outside of time. Black Panther stood atop a vibranium ridge, watching vines rot beneath Vorak's path. This thing isn't hunting, he said. It's correcting. When the Guardians of the Galaxy tried to intercept Vorak in orbit, they vanished. Rocket sent one message before silence. This isn't a bad guy. This is their god. Venom, shredded and bleeding in the dirt, whispered to Eddie. I'm sorry. I thought I could stop him. Eddie coughed blood. Why didn't you tell me he was your brother? Because brothers don't forgive. They erase. And still, Vorik didn't stop. He began consuming language. Cities forgot their names. Rivers dried without leaving mud. Memories unraveled. Vorik wasn't killing. He was rewriting the planet to forget venom ever existed. And it was working. Kids stopped recognizing Spider-Man. Jonah Jameson's files were blank. Even Eddie's reflection started changing in the mirror. His face growing vague. His name slipping from his own thoughts. Then a voice broke the silence. It wasn't Venom. It was Carnage. Cletus Kasady, long presumed dead, stepped through a wormhole with a grin soaked in madness. You wanted a perfect code, Vorik? Well, I'm the corrupted version. Let's talk. The world turned red. Carnage didn't arrive to save anyone. He came because chaos was his drug, and Vorik was the overdose. Where Venom was loyal, Carnage was raw instinct. Where Vorik was cold order, Carnage was wildfire with teeth. And the moment he stepped onto Earth's soil, the sky turned blood orange like it remembered something ancient and wrong. Eddie Brock, barely conscious, blinked through the dust and saw him. You, he gasped. You're supposed to be dead. Carnage grinned, tongue lolling, eyes twitching with pleasure. Yeah, well, death's boring. And this new god of yours? He's about to find out what real corruption feels like. Vorik didn't flinch. His body reformed from static dust into a towering figure with no face, only a voice that echoed inside every skull on the continent. You are decay, not evolution. You delay the cleansing. Carnage laughed. Wrong. I ruin it. And then, with no warning, he attacked. Carnage didn't move like Venom. He didn't roar. He screeched. Blades shot from his ribs, his tongue split into three, and his limbs stretched like red plasma as he slammed into Vorik with a shriek that shattered glass in cities miles away. The shockwave hit Eddie like a truck. Trees exploded. Soil lifted into the air. Even Hulk, who had returned to help, stumbled. But Vorik didn't bleed. Instead, he absorbed the attack, folding Carnage into a whirl of black mist and reshaping him, twisting him. Carnage laughed the whole time. Because that was the plan. He's copying me, he whispered through telepathic static. He thinks I'm the virus. Eddie struggled to sit up. You let him infect you? Nah, Carnage chuckled. I infected him. It hit everyone at once. Vorik staggered. Not physically, but in his code. His movements glitched. He duplicated. 2 left arms. Then none. His voice cracked like broken radio. Carnage had delivered what no one else could. Unpredictability. Symbiotes ran on structure, genetic memory, purpose. Carnage was born in prison, in chaos, inside a madman. His DNA was error. Vorik couldn't process him because Carnage wasn't supposed to exist. And now, that broken code had been uploaded directly into the god of symbiotes. The earth trembled as Vorik convulsed. In Nepal, monks bled from the eyes. In Wakanda, vibranium detectors sparked wild. Vorik's network began glitching. All over the planet, deleted memories returned. People remembered Venom. They remembered Eddie Brock. They remembered Spider-Man. And that's when Peter Parker screamed awake in New York after months of silence. He sat up in his apartment, chest heaving, hand trembling. Venom's not dead. Doctor Strange appeared at his window like a shadow. He's worse than dead. He's hunted. Peter clenched his fist. The suit crawled over his skin, red and blue sharp as ever. Then we help him. But it wasn't going to be that easy. In orbit, Vorik's core had triggered something ancient. A call. A beacon. The source hive. Billions of symbiotes across the galaxy stirred. The ones older than time. The ones that had never bonded with humans. They started moving toward Earth, toward the infection, and Venom felt it. Eddie dropped to his knees, veins pulsing black. They're coming, we started a war. Carnage grinned wide, his teeth made of bone and spite. Good. Let them come. I haven't killed enough gods this week. Tony Stark, operating from his orbital base now, scanned Vorik's shifting molecular structure. He's collapsing from inside. The Carnage code's working, but not for long. Shuri broke it on comms. There's an opportunity. While he's destabilized, we overwrite. With what? She hesitated. Then, with Peter Parker. Silence. Even Stark blinked. You want to inject Spider-Man's memory into a god-level symbiote that's already melting from carnage corruption? He was the first. Venom's first bond. The original Echo. If anything can reset the code, it's Peter. Miles away, Peter stood over a rooftop, watching the stars swirl unnaturally. Do it. Inside a nanotech pod, Shuri synthesized Parker's neural web. His memories, his pain, his loyalty, his loss. The moment it launched, Vorik screamed, not from pain, but from recognition. He remembered Peter Parker. The bond Venom had tried to forget. The reason he changed. The guilt. The failure. The love. Vorik stumbled, his body flickering between code and chaos. He wasn't just glitching now, he was remembering. Remembering feelings no god should feel. And then he spoke, not to Eddie, not to Carnage, but to Peter. You made him choose. Peter stepped forward, unmasked, unafraid. I didn't ask him to. But he did. Suddenly, Vorik split in two. Not physically, metaphysically. One side was void. The other, memory. One side was vengeance. The other, change. And Eddie realized the truth. Vorik wasn't here to kill Venom. He was here to decide. Would the symbiotes remain pure or evolve? The answer wasn't in Carnage, or Tony, or Hulk. It was in Peter. And Peter, broken voice shaking, gave it. We fight. But we feel. That's what makes us dangerous. And that's what makes us alive. The sky turned silver. And for a moment, Vorik wept. The hive arrived without ships, without sound, without mercy. They descended like a plague of shadows stretching across the stars. Billions of symbiotes, older than language, pouring through fractured dimensions in streams of living matter. Earth didn't see them coming. Earth felt them. Gravitational fields collapsed. Tides reversed. Satellites blinked out one by one like they were ashamed to watch. Eddie staggered, Venom hissing uncontrollably in his head. They're here. The originals. The pure. Carnage stood on a burning tree, still laughing. Well, now this party's getting good. But no one else was smiling. Inside Stark's orbital base, alarm screamed. Strange created barrier spells that tore at his hands. Even Thor, watching from deep orbit, muttered, "This is no war. This is a cleansing." Peter Parker stood still, calm, watching the sky crack open with a silver-black wound. Vorik floated midair, silent, twitching, fractured. He was supposed to be their god. But now he looked afraid. Because something worse was coming. And it had no name. It landed in Siberia. A dome of silence dropped across the region. Not blackout. Not EMP. Silence. Like the earth stopped breathing. Inside the crater stood the Alpha Hiveborn, a symbiote so old it didn't speak words. It transmitted instinct. All who saw it described different forms. Some saw their dead parents. Others saw their own corpses. Iron Man's helmet recorded only static and the sound of a heartbeat that wasn't his. Venom collapsed. That's her. The origin. She is the code. The womb. The beginning. She moved like time folding in half. Her presence erased color. And with a single motion, she spoke into the minds of every living thing. The infected shall be erased. Let the hybrid be consumed. Eddie felt fire in his bones. His memories unraveled. Faces gone. Words lost. The symbiote within him screamed like a child ripped from a parent. But then it stopped. Not because she showed mercy, but because something blocked her. A roar, so thunderous it shattered the silenced dome, exploded from the edge of the crater. The Hulk. But this wasn't Banner's Hulk. This was something else. Black veins streaked across green skin. His eyes flickered with symbiote shine. And from his back, tendrils pulsed with a heartbeat of their own. Carnage grinned, whispering, "No way. You bonded with one of them." But it wasn't a question. It was a warning. Hulk had made a deal. Deep in the chaos. While everyone was running, Hulk let one of the hive latch onto him. But not to be controlled. To fight from the inside. He became Ven Hulk, a brutal hybrid built on rage and rebellion. The hive tried to rewrite him. It failed. Because you can't overwrite a being that doesn't want peace. Hulk wasn't code. He was chaos with a spine. He charged. One punch. The alpha hiveborn blinked. Not teleported. Not dodged. She blinked out of existence for 0.2 seconds. Hulk roared again. A second punch. The crater reversed. Trees stood back up. Ice refroze. For a second, the timeline looped backward. Reality hiccuped. But it wasn't enough. The hive adapted. Tendrils wrapped around Hulk's spine, pierced through his arms. He didn't scream. He bit down on his own lip and swung again. He punched through the code. Blood and black oil sprayed from the alpha, her first wound in 1 billion years. Back in the Amazon, Venom gasped. She can be hurt. Eddie looked up. Then we go. Now. Together. Peter nodded. All of us. Strange opened a sling ring. Thor raised Stormbreaker. Shuri armed the molecular destabilizer. Carnage cackled and jumped in first. Earth wasn't waiting anymore. They attacked. Inside the crater, Venom launched like a bullet, claws extended, attaching himself to the wound Hulk had opened. I was born broken, he screamed. And I'm proud of it. He poured every bonded memory into the wound. Eddie's guilt, Peter's loyalty and love. Every second of pain and change. The alpha shrieked, not in agony, but in confusion. She had never felt before. Peter web-zipped through reality fractures, landing beside Venom. Tell her who we are. Eddie's voice cracked. We're not your infection. We're your evolution. Then it happened. From the alpha's chest, something pulsed outward, a shock wave of white light. Everyone froze. Not because it was bright. Because it was warm. It was emotion. Raw and ancient. The alpha fell. Not dead. Changed. Venom stood up slowly. His form began splitting. Glitching. Not dying. Transforming. Peter stepped back. Eddie, what's happening? Venom looked down at his hands. They were reshaping. Streamlining. Symbiote black, but pulsing with red memory threads and gold light. We're the bridge now. Between their world and ours. Carnage watched in silence. Then whispered. You broke her code. But Venom wasn't smiling. Because the hive wasn't gone. It was waiting. The alpha had paused the execution. But deep in the swarm above Earth, something else awoke. Something buried beneath the code. Something older than the hive. A creature they locked away. And now it had smelled fear. The sky turned red. Not from fire. Not from blood. But from fear. The hive stopped moving. Billions of symbiotes, mid-air, mid-shift, mid-strike, froze like statues in orbit. Even the alpha hive-born collapsed to her knees, tendrils retreating into her own chest. Vorik dropped from the sky like a dead star. Something had woken up. Something even the hive had buried. Beneath all code. Beneath all memory. Beneath the origin layer of their species. It wasn't a symbiote. It was what they ran from. Clintar's bane. The first reaper. The thing that devoured gods. And now it had arrived on Earth. Not through a crash. Not through a portal. Through Venom. Eddie screamed as his body twisted, glitched, cracked. Venom's form pulsed violently. Black ink tearing apart into fractals, then reforming with gold veins and blinding white scars. Something inside him had been locked for eons. Something the hive thought they'd erased. A genetic failsafe. A sealed core. And now it was awake. Eddie, what's happening? Peter stepped forward, voice shaking. Venom's voice was no longer just one. It was three. You called us evolution. But what if we were the firewall? The last defense against what we were never meant to become. Suddenly, the earth shook, not like an earthquake, but like the planet was trying to step away. Then it came. From deep in the Atlantic Trench, a tear opened beneath the ocean. Not water, not fire, void. Something crawled out on limbs made of unbonded memory. It had no face, no eyes. It fed on symbiosis. Its presence made Peter forget his name, made Hulk forget he was human. Even Carnage backed away. I didn't sign up for this. The alpha hive-born let out a single pulse across the hive. Run. But it was too late. The creature, Nirak, moved faster than thought. It didn't speak. It infected by presence alone. Entire symbiote colonies dissolved into dust in orbit. Tony Stark watched from space, horrified. We're not fighting infection anymore. We're fighting the cure. Venom looked at Peter. He's not here to kill us. He's here to end bonding. Forever. And Earth was the last planet that still believed in the bond. Shuri's voice cracked over the global comms. We lose Venom, we lose the code. We lose the code, we lose identity. Carnage stepped forward reluctantly. Then, maybe, just maybe, we fight together. Venom looked up, face flickering between human and hive. He raised one claw, sliced it across his own chest, and let his blood spill into the soil. That blood, half earth, half hive, ignited. Every symbiote fragment on Earth flared. Vorik screamed. Even the Alpha fell. Venom had triggered the forbidden signal. The Unity Pulse. It was the one code the Hive never dared use. One that didn't erase differences, but fuse them. Venom's final whisper echoed. If we die today, we die as one. And the planet began to glow. Not with war, but with memory. The Earth glowed with memory. Cities pulsed like living hearts. Oceans shimmered with echoes of battles past. From Tokyo to Wakanda, from New York to the Amazon, every bonded moment between human and symbiote lit up across the planet like stars caught fire. Venom had activated the Unity Pulse. Not just a signal, a choice. And now the Hive had one chance, evolve or vanish. But Nirak, the first Reaper, would not wait. It landed in Antarctica, like silence incarnate. Not an explosion, not a quake, just absence. Mountains turned to ash without burning. Time slowed. Birds forgot how to fly. Plants forgot sunlight. Peter gasped, holding his head. He's deleting reality. Carnage growled. Vorik wept. Even the Alpha Hiveborn, now kneeling beside Venom, whispered. He's not code. He's anti-bond. Tony Stark opened the last protocol. If Venom can't stop him, I've got a clean sweep nuke ready to launch. But it'll take Earth with it. Peter shouted back. No, we don't need a bomb. We need a decision. And Venom, glitching, broken, pulsing with memory and golden scars, stood up one last time. His voice echoed across every frequency, symbiote and human alike. I am not your god. I am your mistake, but I am also your evolution. Venom reached out to Vorik, the brother who came to kill him. Join me. Vorik hesitated, then stepped forward. So did the Alpha, then Carnage, then Hulk, his symbiote roaring in approval. And one by one, across the globe, symbiotes began to merge. Not into one creature, but one signal. A planetary web of willpower, loyalty, rage, and memory. Venom stood at the center, and Peter walked into him. No words, no fear, just trust. The moment their hands touched, boom, light ripped through the stratosphere. Venom and Peter fused, not as parasite and host, but as equal code. Hero and Hive, flesh and form. The result was something Earth had never seen. Not black, not red, not gold. White. White like rebirth. White like memory preserved. White like every bond that ever mattered. Symbiote Prime, the final version of Venom. He stepped toward Nirak, unshaken. The Reaper didn't speak. It didn't need to. It erased. It launched forward. Limbs like void, presence like death. But Prime struck first. One blow. A memory punch. And in that strike, Nirak felt everything. Anne's death. Peter's guilt. Eddie's love. The pain. The change. The choice to evolve. Nirak screamed for the first time. Not in rage. In understanding. Then it cracked. Shattered into light and dust. Not destroyed. Converted. The anti-bond became the seed of future bonds. The sky cleared. The Hive stopped shaking. And Earth remembered everything. Venom, fading, turned to Peter one last time. You were always the start. You deserve the end. Then he collapsed. And Peter, eyes full of tears, whispered, No. This isn't the end. Months later, New York. A child sketches a black suit with white eyes. Her father looks over and smiles. Who's that? She shrugs. I don't know. Just feels like someone important. The world may forget the name Venom. But the bond? The bond will never die.